There was a time when Salt Bae wasn't just a chef, he was a cultural phenomenon. With nothing more than a flick of the wrist, he turned sprinkling salt into a worldwide obsession. Overnight, Nusret Gökçe became a symbol of viral fame, building a restaurant empire that stretched from Istanbul to New York, Dubai to London. He wasn't selling food, he was selling a lifestyle: gold-covered steaks, red carpet guests, and a dining experience designed for Instagram. For a few years, it felt like his empire had no ceiling, but fast forward to today, and the story looks very different. His US restaurants are shutting down, his once loyal fan base has gone quiet, and the viral magic that made him famous seems to have completely disappeared. Where crowds once lined up for a single photo or video, many of his dining rooms now sit half empty. Even his presence on social media, the very place that made him a star, has slowed to a trickle with far less attention than before. So here's the real question. Did Salt Bae's golden empire collapse under the weight of its own hype? Or is he quietly stepping back, waiting for the perfect moment to remind the world why he ever mattered in the first place? Like and subscribe to Stars and Hypes for more, and let's continue. America was supposed to be Salt Bae's ultimate stage. If he could conquer New York, Miami, and Beverly Hills, he wouldn't just be a viral chef anymore, he'd be a household name. For a while, it seemed like the plan was working. Celebrities crowded his tables, influencers filmed every salt drop in slow motion, and customers willingly paid absurd prices just for the bragging rights of eating at one of his restaurants. In those early days, spending $1,000 on a gold steak wasn't just dinner, it was a status symbol. But the shine didn't last. Over the past year, his US empire has been crumbling piece by piece. In New York, entire locations quietly closed their doors. His Beverly Hills restaurant, which opened with all the glitz and glamour of a Hollywood premiere, shut down suddenly, leaving behind more questions than answers. Even Salt Bae Burger, a spin-off concept meant to cash in on the hype, couldn't survive the brutal reality of the American market. Today, only a handful of his US locations are still standing, and the buzz around them is nowhere near what it once was. Industry insiders say the company is shifting its focus abroad, betting on international cities like Istanbul, Ibiza, and Rome, along with luxury travel hubs like airports to keep the brand afloat. It's a bold move, but also a risky one. Because here's the truth. Walking away from the US isn't just about closing restaurants, it's about stepping back from the most competitive, trend-setting food scene in the world. If Salt Bae can't survive in America, the place that gave him global recognition, what does that say about the future of his empire? In the last few months, something unusual has happened. Salt Bae has practically vanished. For years, he was impossible to ignore. Whether it was shirtless workouts in the gym, golden steaks served to celebrities, or over-the-top flexes on Instagram, he made sure the world saw him every single day. But lately, silence. No viral salt drops. No dramatic videos with Hollywood stars. Not even the constant gym selfies that once filled his feed. News outlets have started asking the same question fans whisper online. Where is Salt Bae? His social media still posts, but it feels different now, slower, quieter, and strangely detached. The engagement is lower, the comments less excited, and the spotlight that once followed him everywhere seems to have dimmed. This sudden absence has fueled speculation. Some believe he's hiding from the wave of lawsuits, bad reviews, and embarrassing press that has piled up in the last 2 years. Others think it's a strategic retreat, that he's pulling back on purpose, preparing for a rebrand, or waiting for the internet's attention span to cycle back in his favor. And then there's the harshest theory of all. Maybe the world just doesn't care anymore. Maybe Salt Bae's 15 minutes of fame really are over and he knows it. The irony is hard to ignore. The man who built an empire on being everywhere, in every city, every feed, every celebrity circle, is suddenly nowhere to be found. And in the world of viral fame, disappearing often says more than any post ever could. With the US market slipping away, Salt Bae has turned his attention back overseas. New openings have been announced, with plans to expand into airports and luxury travel hubs where wealthy travelers are always passing through. On paper, it looks like a clever pivot. If America doesn't want the gold steaks anymore, maybe jet-setters in Europe and the Middle East will. For a businessman trying to protect his brand, it almost feels like a survival strategy. But dig deeper, and the cracks are still visible. Reviews across the globe tell the same story: overpriced menus, underwhelming food, and a dining experience that feels more like a staged performance than a genuine meal. Even in markets where his name still carries weight, the hype isn't as explosive as it once was. The Instagram theater model worked when Salt Bae himself was the star of the show. Without him constantly at the table, sprinkling salt and posing with celebrities, these restaurants risk becoming just another expensive steakhouse with fading novelty. There's also the bigger question: is this expansion about long-term growth, or is it smoke and mirrors to distract from the collapse elsewhere? Opening in airports and tourist-heavy spots ensures foot traffic, but it also feels like chasing convenience rather than building a loyal base of customers. If the core product, the food itself, keeps getting slammed by critics, then no amount of flashy locations can save the brand. It's the classic problem of empire building. You can keep stretching the map with new pins and new cities, but if the foundation is cracked, eventually the whole thing comes down. And right now, Salt Bae's international strategy feels less like a bold comeback and more like a desperate attempt to keep the illusion alive. For Salt Bae, the harshest blows haven't come from lawsuits or closed restaurants, they've come from the people who actually ate his food. Over the past year, social media has been flooded with stories of disappointed diners. Viral clips show customers dropping jaw-dropping sums, sometimes over €1,000 for a single meal, only to walk away calling it worthless or the worst food for the highest price. One Spanish group even shared a receipt of €1,101 and said flat out that the experience wasn't worth a single cent. Those posts spread fast and each one chips away at the image he built. And the criticism isn't just about the money. Reviewers slam the flavor, calling the steaks overcooked, the sides basic, and the overall experience more about spectacle than substance. On TripAdvisor, some of his restaurants rank near the bottom, with guests mocking them as Instagram traps or tourist scams. That kind of reputation is poison in the food world, because once the illusion breaks, it doesn't come back. The backlash hasn't been limited to the dining room either. Public stunts that once gave him clout now backfire. The infamous moment at the 2022 World Cup, when Salt Bae forced his way onto the pitch, grabbed Messi's arm and even kissed the trophy, turned him into a meme for all the wrong reasons. FIFA banned him from future events, and the internet roasted him for weeks. A year later, when he tried sneaking into the Champions League final, security escorted him out like an overzealous fanboy. What was supposed to be proof of his star power only highlighted how far his relevance had fallen. Online, the narrative has flipped completely. His follower growth slowed to a crawl. Some reports even suggest he's losing more fans than he's gaining. Posts that once drew millions of likes now sink quietly with a fraction of the attention. The salt sprinkle that made him famous is still remembered, but now it's more often used to mock him than to celebrate him. Salt Bae built his empire on hype, but the internet moves fast, and right now, instead of being seen as a global icon, he's quickly becoming something worse, a punchline. At this point, Salt Bae's career could break in several directions, and each one tells a very different story. Scenario A, the quiet retreat. He steps out of the spotlight, lets the Nusret brand run itself, and avoids the public embarrassment that comes with every viral backlash. The restaurants keep operating in the Middle East and Europe, but Salt Bae himself fades into the background. To some, this might actually be his smartest move. If he stops chasing clout, he can protect what's left of his empire and avoid turning into a full-time meme. Scenario B, focus on friendlier markets. America may have rejected him, but in places like Turkey, Dubai, and parts of Asia, Salt Bae still holds celebrity status. By doubling down on these markets, he can keep catering to wealthy travelers who value the spectacle over the taste. It's a smaller stage than the US, but one where he can still be treated like a star. Scenario C, the big comeback attempt. There's always a chance he swings for the fences with a bold reinvention. Maybe it's a new viral gimmick, a reality show, or a completely new business venture outside of food. The problem? Lightning rarely strikes twice. If the internet decides he's cringe, no amount of gold leaf can polish that reputation back to shine. But Salt Bae has already built an empire from a 5-second meme, so it's not impossible he tries again. Scenario D. The brand outlives the man. Even if Salt Bae himself fades from relevance, the Nusret name could continue. With dozens of restaurants still open internationally, his empire might evolve into a faceless luxury chain, where the salt sprinkle is more logo than lifestyle. Salt Bae the man disappears, but Salt Bae the brand lives on, a ghost of its founder. Right now, the signs point most strongly toward retreat. The hype cycle has burned out, the public embarrassments keep stacking up, and the US closures send a clear message. The empire isn't invincible, but the wild card is Salt Bae himself. He's always thrived on spectacle, and if history has shown us anything, it's that he's willing to do whatever it takes to stay in the conversation. Maybe he's finished, maybe he's regrouping, or maybe he's waiting for the perfect moment to sprinkle himself back into the spotlight. Salt Bae's story is one of the wildest arcs the internet has ever produced. A butcher from Turkey flicks salt onto a steak in just the right way, and suddenly he's a global superstar, serving celebrities, building luxury restaurants, and cashing in on the kind of fame most chefs could never dream of. For a moment, it looked like he had hacked the system, proof that you could turn a 5-second meme into a billion-dollar empire. But as fast as it rose, the shine began to fade. US restaurants shuttered, lawsuits piled up, and the social media magic that once carried him evaporated. What used to look like confidence now comes across as arrogance. What once felt like showmanship now feels like desperation. And the same internet that crowned him king has started to laugh at him instead. Still, Salt Bae's story isn't just about one man, it's a cautionary tale about viral fame itself. Memes burn bright, but they burn out fast. If there's no substance behind the spectacle, no real value beyond the show, then eventually the spotlight moves on. You can cover a steak in gold and charge a fortune for it, but if the food, the service, and the brand don't hold up, people will notice and they'll never forgive the illusion once it cracks. Right now, Salt Bae sits in a strange limbo. He's too famous to disappear completely, but too ridiculed to be taken seriously. His restaurants might survive, his name might linger, but his moment, the one that made him untouchable, may already be gone. So here's the final question. Is Salt Bae quietly regrouping for a comeback? Or is this the end of his golden era once and for all? Because no matter how much glitter you sprinkle on top, you can't season over a crumbling empire. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to Stars and Hypes so you don't miss what's coming next. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how things will continue in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care, and have a great day.